The council chamber stretched wide like a massive arena. 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats, arranged in a perfect circle around the central platform. Ambassador Lisa Bennett stood on that platform, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore a simple blue uniform that represented Earth. Beside her stood Commander Jake Morrison, a tall man with gray streaks in his dark hair. He had been a soldier once, but now he wore the clothes of a diplomat. Lisa looked up at the faces watching her. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed different gases and sat behind special shields. A few glowed with their own light. They all had one thing in common right now. They were all looking at her with something that felt like pity. "Ambassador Bennett," the voice came from above. High Archon Zelthar sat in the highest seat. He was reptilian, with green scales that shimmered under the lights. His eyes were cold and ancient. "Humanity has requested full membership in the Galactic Council. We have reviewed your petition." Lisa nodded. "Thank you, High Archon. Humanity has been a provisional member for 20 years. We have followed all protocols. We have contributed to galactic peace. We believe we have earned full membership." A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Jake a moment to recognize it. Laughter. They were laughing. Zelthar raised a clawed hand. The laughter faded, but smiles remained on many alien faces. "Ambassador, your species is very young. You have been in space for barely a century. Some species here have traveled the stars for 10,000 years. "We understand that," Lisa said. Her voice stayed calm and professional. "But we have learned quickly. Our technology has advanced. Our people are peaceful and eager to contribute." Another delegate stood. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of purple light. Its voice came through a translator. "We have reviewed your cultural files, human. Your history is filled with violence and war. You worship ancient warriors and celebrate destruction." Lisa shook her head. "Those are myths and legends, stories from our past. Every species has such stories." "But you treat them as sacred," another voice called out. This delegate had 6 arms and skin like stone. "You name your ships after weapons and warriors. You tell tales of legendary conflicts as if they were glorious." Jake felt his jaw tighten. He wanted to speak, but this was Lisa's moment. "Our mythology is part of our heritage," Lisa explained. "We tell stories of Atlantis, a lost civilization. We speak of ancient heroes who fought impossible battles. These stories teach us lessons about courage and sacrifice." More laughter. Louder this time. Zelthar leaned forward. "Ambassador, let me be direct. Your species claims to have ancient wisdom, yet your oldest records are mere thousands of years old. You speak of legendary technology, but you still use primitive fusion drives. You tell tales of warriors who could defeat armies, but these are clearly fantasies meant to comfort your children. We have also reviewed your military capabilities," the jellyfish delegate added. "You have perhaps 200 ships spread across your colonies. You have no weapons that surpass our own. You are, by every measure, among the weakest spacefaring species we have encountered." Lisa's face remained neutral, but Jake saw her hands tighten behind her back. He glanced at his wrist device. Hidden beneath his sleeve, a small screen showed encrypted messages flowing through military channels. Something was happening, something big. "We do not seek membership through strength," Lisa said carefully. "We seek membership through cooperation and mutual benefit." "How very human," Zelthar said. The words dripped with condescension. "Always seeking charity, always asking for help. Perhaps this is why your myths are so important to you. They let you imagine being powerful when reality shows otherwise." A female delegate with wings like glass spoke up. "I propose we grant humanity protected species status, like we do for developing civilizations. They clearly need our guidance and protection." The vote happened quickly. Of the 47 species, 43 voted yes. Only 3 species abstained. None voted against. Protected status. It meant humanity was officially classified as children among the stars. They would need permission for military actions. They would need approval for certain technologies. They would be supervised. "Thank you for your time, Ambassador," Zelthar said. "Humanity will remain in provisional status for another decade. At that time, we will review your progress. Perhaps with proper guidance, you will grow mature enough for full membership. This session is concluded." Lisa bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, High Archon. We appreciate the Council's consideration." She turned and walked toward the exit. Jake followed. Around them, delegates chatted and laughed. He heard snippets of conversation. "Did you see their mythology presentation? They actually believe their ancestors fought gods." "Pathetic. My hatchlings tell more believable stories." "Protected status is generous. They should be grateful." Jake and Lisa stepped into the corridor outside. The doors sealed behind them. Only then did Lisa let her shoulders slump. She took a deep breath. "They humiliated us," she said quietly. Jake checked his device again. More messages. "Lisa, something is happening. Military channels are active. Very active." She looked at him. "What kind of activity?" "The kind we were told to wait for." He met her eyes. "The kind that means our mission here might be changing very soon." Lisa straightened her uniform. "We maintain our cover. We keep playing the role of weak, desperate humanity seeking acceptance." She paused. "But Jake, between you and me, I almost feel sorry for them." "Why?" "Because they actually believe their own conclusions. They think our myths are fantasies. They think our restraint is weakness." She smiled then, just a little. "They have no idea what is coming." Jake nodded. His military training surged back, the diplomatic mask slipping just for a moment. "How long do we wait?" "We wait for the signal," Lisa said. "When the time comes, the galaxy will learn something important about humanity." "What's that?" "That when we tell you who we are, you should listen." She started walking down the corridor. "Come on. We have reports to file. Let them laugh while they can. Winter is coming, as our myths say. And we are the storm." Behind them, in the council chamber, alien species continued to laugh and celebrate. They had successfully put humanity in its place. They had reminded the young species of their position in the galactic order. None of them noticed the small smile on Jake's face as he followed his ambassador. None of them knew that humanity had been waiting for this exact moment for 20 years. The trap had been set long ago, and they had just walked right into it. Admiral Ryan Blake stood in the observation deck of the command center buried 3 miles beneath the Colorado mountains. The room was dark, except for the glow of dozens of holographic displays. Each one showed a different sector of space, a different hidden facility, a different piece of humanity's greatest secret. "Admiral, the council session has concluded," a young officer reported. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez handed him a datapad. "Result as expected. Protected status granted. Humanity officially labeled as children." Ryan smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Perfect. Any change in the Kashari Empire's movements?" "They are becoming more aggressive along our borders. Intelligence suggests they see the Council's decision as permission to expand into human territory." "Let them think that." Ryan turned to face the massive star map behind him. Red dots marked human colonies. Green dots marked allied species. Orange dots marked potential threats. And yellow dots, dozens of them, marked something the galaxy did not know existed: hidden shipyards. On Mars, in a facility hollowed out from the moon Phobos, Dr. Sophie Martinez examined ancient stone tablets. She was an archaeologist, but her work was classified at the highest levels. The tablets were not from Mars. They were from Earth, from sites most people thought were just myths. "This is definitely a star chart," she said to her assistant. The younger woman leaned closer to look. These symbols match others we found in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and South America. Sophie, our ancestors were mapping space travel routes 5,000 years ago. And nobody believes it, Sophie said. The Council thinks our myths are just stories. They do not understand that our myths are memories. She traced a finger over the carved lines. Atlantis was real. It was a human civilization that reached the stars. Then something happened. They fell. Maybe war, maybe disaster. But they left records. Records that survived as legends and myths. Why did we hide this from the Council? Sophie looked up. Because 30 years ago when we first met them, humanity made a choice. We could show our strength and face immediate conflict with established powers. Or we could pretend to be weak, learn everything about them, and build our strength in secret. She smiled. We chose patience. We chose strategy. Very human traits, actually. In the asteroid belt beyond Mars, Captain Ben Harper guided his ship through a field of rocks. His vessel was small, painted flat black, and nearly impossible to detect. It had been his home for 7 years. 7 years of reconnaissance missions into Council space. Contact at bearing 273, his co-pilot said. Kashari patrol ship. Log it, Ben said calmly. That is the 5th patrol in this sector this month. They are preparing for something. His database was full of information the Council did not know humanity possessed. Ship designs, weapon specifications, military protocols, trade routes. Every species in the Council had been mapped, studied, and analyzed. Humanity knew their strengths and weaknesses better than they knew themselves. Captain, are we really going to fight them? His co-pilot asked. She was young, new to deep space work. I hope not, Ben said honestly. But if we do, we will win. Because we have done something no other species has done in 1,000 years. What is that? We remembered how to wage war. Back in the Colorado facility, Ryan walked through corridors lined with screens showing construction progress. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez walked beside him, updating him on intelligence reports. We have confirmed the Council has no idea about our true fleet size, she said. They think we have 200 ships, mostly small frigates and transports. And the truth? 2,300 warships, another 500 in final construction stages, plus support vessels, carriers, and the dreadnoughts. Ryan nodded. The dreadnoughts were special. Each one was larger than anything the Council had ever built. They were mobile fortresses, equipped with weapons that should not exist according to current galactic technology levels. How did we advance so quickly? Amy asked. The Council has been in space for thousands of years. Ryan stopped walking. He turned to face her. Because they forgot something important, Lieutenant. They forgot that necessity drives innovation. They have been comfortable for too long. No major wars, no real threats. They grew soft. He gestured around them. Humanity has never been comfortable. Every generation of humans has faced conflict. We learned from every war, every battle, every defeat. Our myths are not stories. They are lessons written in blood. In orbit around Jupiter, massive construction yards floated hidden in the gas giant's magnetic field. The interference made them invisible to normal sensors. Inside those yards, ships took shape. Sleek hulls covered in angular armor, weapons arrays that bristled like the spines of ancient predators. Each ship bore a name from human mythology. The Olympus, the Ragnarok, the Excalibur, the Phoenix. To the Council, these were just myths. To humanity, they were reminders of who they were. Warriors, survivors, champions against impossible odds. Commander Jake Morrison arrived at the Colorado facility 3 days after the Council meeting. He descended the long elevator shaft and found Ryan waiting for him. Commander, Ryan said, or should I say Admiral Morrison? Jake smiled. The diplomatic assignment is over? Soon. Very soon. Ryan led him to a conference room. Inside, several other officers waited. Sophie Martinez was there via holographic link. Ben Harper appeared on another screen. The Kashari Empire has made their decision, Ryan began. Intelligence reports they plan to invade New Terra within the month. They see the Council's ruling as permission. They think humanity is weak and unprotected. New Terra has 40,000 colonists, Jake said. Families, children. I know. Ryan's face was hard. Which is why we are going to let them attack. Silence filled the room. Sir? Amy finally spoke. We have been waiting for this moment for 20 years, Ryan explained. We need an excuse. We need the Council to see us as victims first. Then, when we reveal our true strength, it will be justified defense rather than aggression. Sophie's hologram flickered. You are using New Terra as bait. No, Ryan corrected. We are using New Terra as our Thermopylae, our Alamo, our moment when humanity stands and says enough. He looked at each person in the room. We have hidden assets near New Terra. The colony will not fall, but they will be attacked. They will suffer. And then, when the moment is right, the galaxy will witness something they thought was impossible. What is that? Ben asked from his screen. Ryan brought up a display. It showed the entire human fleet, thousands of ships ready to move. They will witness humanity's armada. They laughed at our myths. They mocked our stories of legendary warriors and ancient power. His eyes reflected the glow of the ships on screen. It is time we showed them that every myth has roots in truth. Every legend started somewhere. When do we move? Jake asked. We wait for the Kashari to strike. We let the Council refuse to help. We let them believe their assumptions about weak humanity. Ryan smiled, and it was the smile of a predator finally allowed to remove its disguise. Then we remind the galaxy why humans tell stories about war, why our myths are filled with battles and warriors, why every human child grows up learning about conflict and victory. Why is that? Amy asked. Because unlike the Council species, Ryan said quietly, humanity never forgot that peace is not the natural state of the universe. Peace is something you fight for, something you defend, something you build with strength. He stood. Get to your positions. Operation Valdir begins the moment the Kashari fleet enters New Terra's space. The officers left. Ryan remained alone in the conference room, staring at the star map. Out there, humanity's children lived on dozens of worlds. They thought they were safe under Council protection. They were about to learn the truth. The only protection humanity needed was the protection they gave themselves. And that protection had teeth. Governor Kyle Sanders watched the sun set over New Terra's capital city. The sky turned orange and purple, colors that reminded him of Earth, but somehow different. Alien, beautiful in its own way. Behind him, his office door opened. Sir, we have a problem, Captain Emma Drake said. She commanded the colony's defense forces. Her face was pale. What kind of problem? The kind with 300 warships jumping into our system. Kyle turned from the window. The Kashari? Yes, sir. They just appeared at the edge of the system. They are broadcasting a message. You need to hear this. In the command center, Kyle listened to the transmission. The Kashari War Master Krethis spoke in a voice like grinding metal. His species looked like insects, tall and armored with 4 arms and compound eyes. Humans of New Terra, the translation came through clearly. Your council has declared you a protected species. Children who need supervision. We agree with this assessment. Therefore, we are claiming this world as Kashari territory. You have 24 hours to evacuate. Resistance will be met with extermination. The transmission ended. Emma looked at Kyle. What are our orders? Send distress signals to Earth and the Galactic Council. Prepare all defenses. Kyle sat down heavily. How long can we hold? Against 300 ships. Emma shook her head. We have 12 defense platforms and 30 patrol boats. Maybe a day if we are lucky, maybe less. Kyle activated his communication console. Get me Earth Military Command. It took 30 minutes for the connection to go through. When it did, a young officer appeared on screen. Kyle recognized the uniform as belonging to the Hidden Fleet, not the public forces. Governor Sanders, we have received your situation report, the officer said. Help is coming. When? We have hours, not days. We are aware. Hold your position, defend your people. You will receive a coded message with further instructions. Trust the plan, Governor. Remember Thermopylae. The transmission ended before Kyle could ask what that meant. Emma had been listening. Thermopylae? That is ancient Greek history. 300 Spartans holding against a massive army. They lost that battle, Kyle said. But they bought time for Greece to prepare, and they became legends. Emma straightened. Sir, if Earth Command is telling us to remember Thermopylae, they want us to hold no matter the cost. They want us to be the shield. Kyle nodded slowly. Then that is what we will be. Sound the evacuation alarm for civilians. Get everyone into the underground shelters. Bring all military personnel to full alert. The Kashari did not wait 24 hours. They attacked after 12. War Master Krethis led the assault personally. His flagship was a massive vessel shaped like a blade. Behind him, hundreds of smaller ships moved in perfect formation. They had done this before, conquered other worlds, defeated other species. Fire, he commanded. The sky above New Terra filled with light. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the planet. The human defense platforms fired back. For a few moments, the battle seemed almost even. Then the Kashari brought their full force to bear. One by one, the defense platforms exploded. Human patrol boats darted between enemy ships, firing desperately. They were fast, and their pilots were skilled, but there were too many enemies. Lieutenant Danny Walsh flew his fighter through a storm of weapons fire. His cockpit alarms screamed at him. Behind him, 2 wingmates exploded. Echo Squadron, break formation. Use the moon's gravity well. 5 fighters followed him. They dove toward New Terra's moon, using its mass to slingshot around and attack from an unexpected angle. They destroyed 3 Kashari ships before the enemy adapted. Danny, this is ground control, Emma's voice came through. Fall back to the atmosphere. We need cover for the evacuation transports. Understood. Danny pulled his fighter into a sharp turn. Below, he could see the first Kashari landing craft approaching the surface. On the ground, Kyle coordinated the defense from the underground command center. Reports flooded in. The northern defense line was collapsing. Kashari troops were landing in 3 locations. Civilian casualties were minimal so far, but that would change once the enemy reached the cities. Sir, the Galactic Council is responding to our distress signal, a communications officer reported. Put it through. The Council's message was cold and bureaucratic. They were very concerned. They were calling for emergency deliberations. They would consider the matter and respond within the week. Within the week. New Terra would be conquered by tomorrow. Kyle cut the transmission. What about Earth? Nothing yet, sir. Just that one coded message. The coded message had arrived 3 hours ago. It contained only a few words. Hold for 3 days. Remember your history. The dawn comes. 3 days. Kyle looked at the tactical display. They might not have 3 hours. Above the planet, Krethis watched the human defenses crumble. It was almost disappointing. The humans fought with courage. He would give them that. But courage without strength was meaningless. He opened a broadcast on all frequencies, making sure every human on the planet and every ship in range would hear him. Humans of New Terra, this is War Master Krethis. Your myths spoke of gods and monsters. Your legends told of warriors who could destroy armies and weapons that could end worlds. Your council representatives showed us these myths as examples of your culture. He paused, his mandibles clicking in what passed for Kashari laughter. We see only frightened children playing at war. Your myths are fantasies, your legends are lies. You are the weakest species I have encountered in 30 years of conquest. On the surface, Kyle listened to that broadcast. Anger burned in his chest. Around him, his officers looked beaten, defeated. "Sir, we cannot hold for 3 days," Emma said quietly. "We will be lucky to hold until nightfall." Kyle pulled up the coded message again. "Hold for 3 days. Remember your history. The dawn comes." He thought about Thermopylae. He thought about the Alamo. He thought about every last stand in human history where outnumbered forces held against impossible odds. And he understood. "We hold," he said firmly. "We hold because Earth needs us to. We hold because humanity is counting on us. We hold because that is what humans do." He looked at his officers. "Our history is full of impossible stands, full of defenders who refuse to break. The Spartans at Thermopylae, the Texans at the Alamo, the soldiers at Bastonia. Every time, they knew they might die. Every time they stood anyway." "What did they accomplish?" someone asked. "They bought time. They inspired their people. They proved that humans do not surrender when the cause is just." Kyle activated the colony-wide broadcast. "People of New Terra, this is your governor. We face a terrible enemy. They outnumber us. They outgun us. They expect us to break. But I have received word from Earth. Help is coming. We must hold for 3 days. I know that seems impossible. But our history has taught us that humans specialize in the impossible." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "The Kashari War Master mocks our myths. He thinks they are fantasies. He is wrong. Our myths are lessons. They teach us who we are. They remind us what we are capable of. So we will show him. We will show the galaxy. Humanity does not break. We do not surrender. We hold the line." On his fighter, Danny heard the broadcast. He smiled grimly. "Echo Squadron, you heard the governor. We hold for 3 days. Let's make our ancestors proud." In the underground shelters, 40,000 civilians listened. Fear was in their hearts, but also determination. They were human. They would endure. Captain Emma Drake rallied her troops. 3 days, people. We show these insects what humans are made of. For New Terra." The battle continued. The Kashari pushed forward. Humans fell back step by step, contesting every meter. The cost was terrible, but the line held. Day 1 passed. The Kashari controlled half the planet's surface, but had not broken human resistance. Day 2 passed. The human forces were down to 20% strength, but they still fought. Day 3 arrived. Kyle stood in the command center, exhausted. They had held. Against all odds, they had held for 3 days. But they could not hold any longer. The Kashari were preparing a final assault. Emma appeared on screen. "Sir, this is it. They are coming with everything they have. We will not survive the next hour." Kyle nodded. They had done their duty. They had bought Earth whatever time was needed. He prepared to give the evacuation order, to save what few people they could. Then alarms sounded. New contacts on sensors, hundreds of them. A technician shouted in disbelief, "Sir, there are ships jumping into the system, multiple jump points opening, hundreds, no, thousands of signatures." Kyle looked at the display. His screen filled with green markers. So many his screen could barely show them all. Emma's voice came through, filled with awe. "Sir, what is that?" Kyle smiled. For the first time in 3 days, he smiled. "That, Captain, is the dawn. Space tore open. War Master Krathus stared at his tactical display in confusion. Jump points were opening all around New Terra's system. Not the small ripples of single ships arriving, but massive tiers in space itself. Through each tier, vessels emerged. Human vessels. "Report!" Krathus demanded. His confidence wavered for the first time. Counting 300, 500, 700 contacts, and still increasing, his sensor officer said, voice climbing with panic. "War Master, they just keep coming." The ships were unlike anything Krathus had seen before. Sleek hulls covered in dark armor that seemed to drink in light. Weapons arrays that bristled along every surface. And they moved with a grace that should be impossible for vessels so large. "Incoming transmission," his communications officer said. "All frequencies. They want everyone to hear this. Put it through." A human appeared on screen. He wore a dark uniform with symbols that marked him as high-ranking. His hair was gray, his eyes were cold and calculating. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Kashari War Master Krathus," the human said. "I am Admiral Ryan Blake of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have invaded our colony, you have killed our people, and you mocked our myths." The smile faded. "Allow me to educate you about human mythology." Behind Ryan, Krathus could see the bridge of an enormous ship. Crew members worked at stations with calm efficiency. No panic, no fear. They moved like they had done this 1,000 times before. "You see those ships around you?" Ryan continued. "Let me introduce them. The Olympus, named for the home of Greek gods. The Ragnarok, from Norse legends of the end times. The Excalibur, the legendary sword of King Arthur. The Phoenix, the bird that rises from ashes. The Valkyrie, choosers of the slain." He leaned forward. "Every ship in this fleet is named for a myth, a legend, a story you thought was fantasy." Krathus found his voice. You were reported to have only 200 ships." "We lied," Ryan said simply. "We have been lying for 30 years. We pretended to be weak. We played the role of frightened children begging for the Council's protection. We watched as you grew comfortable in your strength, and all the while we built. We prepared. We remembered what the galaxy forgot." "What is that?" "How to wage war." Ryan made a gesture, and his image disappeared. What replaced it made Krathus's blood run cold. It was a tactical display showing both fleets. The Kashari had 300 ships. The humans had over 2,000. "Impossible," Krathus breathed. Captain Megan Foster stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, the fleet's flagship carrier. She watched the tactical display with professional calm. Around her, crew members prepared for battle. "Launch all fighters," she ordered. "Wings 1 through 12, engage the enemy fleet. Wings 13 through 18, provide cover for New Terra." From the Valkyrie's launch bays, small craft erupted into space. They moved fast, impossibly fast. Kashari ships tried to track them, but the human fighters were already past their targeting solutions. Lieutenant Danny Walsh joined the formation as it swept past his position. "Echo Squadron, form up on the carrier group. Looks like we have backup." A new voice came through his communications. "Echo Squadron, this is Wing Commander Phillips. Good work holding them off. Now let us show you how Earth does things." The human fighters hit the Kashari fleet like a hammer. They flew in perfect coordination, each pilot knowing exactly where the others would be. They targeted weak points in Kashari ship armor, places no one should know about unless they had studied those ships for years, which humanity had. The Kashari tried to respond. They fired their weapons, launched their own fighters, followed their standard battle tactics. But those tactics were 300 years old. Humanity had records of every Kashari battle for the past 50 years. They knew what was coming before it happened. Admiral Ryan Blake watched from his command ship. "Olympus, take your battle group and flank their left side. Ragnarok, you have their right. Excalibur, straight through the center. Let's see if Kashari shields can handle directed energy weapons." The Olympus moved forward. It was a dreadnought-class ship, twice the size of the largest Kashari vessel. Its main guns charged with a deep hum that resonated through space itself. When they fired, beams of pure energy lanced out. They punched through Kashari shields like paper. 3 enemy ships exploded in seconds. Krethis watched his fleet die. His ships were destroyed faster than he could process. Every tactical decision he made was countered before he finished making it. The humans fought like they could read his mind. "All ships fall back," he ordered. "Regroup at—" "War Master, they are surrounding us," his tactical officer reported. "Every escape route is blocked." It was true. The human fleet had spread out to encircle the Kashari completely. They were trapped. Ryan's voice came through again. "War Master, you have 2 choices. Surrender now, or I turn your fleet into debris. You have 30 seconds to decide." "This is impossible," Krethis said, more to himself than anyone else. "The Council said you were weak. They said you had no advanced weapons, no strategy, no—" "The Council was wrong," Ryan interrupted. "They judged us by what they could see. They never thought to look for what we kept hidden. 30 seconds. War Master, choose." On New Terra, Governor Kyle watched the battle through the command center displays. It was not really a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. The Kashari fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming hours ago, was being systematically destroyed. Captain Emma Drake stood beside him. "Sir, we are receiving landing clearance for human reinforcements. Medical teams, engineering crews, replacement defense platforms, they are already sending supplies." "How long has Earth been planning this?" Kyle asked quietly. 20 years, according to the data packets they sent us. This whole thing was a trap. They needed the Kashari to attack so they could reveal their strength without seeming aggressive. Kyle shook his head in amazement. "We were the bait. We were the excuse," Emma corrected. "And we held long enough. The Kashari made a mistake attacking us. Now the galaxy will see what happens when you underestimate humanity." In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency session alarms blared. Representatives rushed to their seats. High Archon Zelthar appeared, his scales darker with stress. "We have reports of massive human military action," he announced. "Initial intelligence suggests—" "Turn on the public feeds," someone shouted. "It is all over the networks." The main display activated. It showed the battle at New Terra. Thousands of human ships moving in perfect coordination. Kashari vessels exploding. And in the corner of every feed, a counter showing the number of human ships identified. 2,300 and counting. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and demands. Some called for military action. Others called for diplomacy. Several species looked terrified. Ambassador Lisa Bennett appeared in the chamber doorway. Beside her stood Commander Jake Morrison. But he was not wearing diplomatic clothes anymore. He wore a military uniform with admiral stars on his collar. Lisa walked to the central platform. The chamber slowly fell silent. "High Archon," she said calmly, "I believe humanity has earned your attention." Zelthar stared at her. You lied to us. You hid your military strength. You deceived this entire council." "Yes," Lisa agreed without shame. "We did. Because 30 years ago, when humanity first encountered the Galactic Council, we had a choice. Show our strength and face immediate conflict with established powers who would see us as a threat. Or hide our strength, learn everything about you, and build ourselves into something you could not challenge." "This is an act of war," the jellyfish delegate shouted. "No," Jake said, his admiral's voice carrying through the chamber. "This is an act of defense. The Kashari attacked our colony unprovoked. We asked for your help. You debated for 3 days while our people died, so we helped ourselves." Lisa continued. "The Kashari fleet at New Terra has been given the chance to surrender. Those who do will be treated according to galactic law. Those who do not will be destroyed. After that, our fleet will move to the Kashari home system. We will demand their complete surrender and disarmament." You cannot invade a council member species, Zelthar said, but his voice shook. Watch us, Lisa said coldly. You declared us a protected species, children who needed supervision. But we are not children, High Archon. We never were. We are humanity. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues and wars that would have destroyed others. We are the species that went from wooden ships to starships in 500 years. We are the species that remembers every lesson, every battle, every defeat. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of worlds. You laughed at our myths. You thought they were fantasies. Let me tell you what they really are. They are warnings. Every story about human warriors and legendary weapons and impossible victories was us telling you exactly who we are. You just were not listening. Jake pulled up a display showing the human fleet. We have 2,000 ships currently active, another 1,000 in various stages of construction. Our weapons technology is 50 years ahead of standard council specifications. Our tactical computers have studied every battle fought by every species in this council for the past 200 years. We know how you fight. We know your weaknesses, and we have been preparing for this moment since the day we met you. The chamber was silent now. Ryan's voice came through the communication system. This is Admiral Blake to the Galactic Council. The Kashari War Master has chosen to surrender. His surviving ships are powering down their weapons. We have won this engagement without losing a single vessel. To all species listening, understand this. Humanity does not seek war, but we will not be victims. We will not be mocked, and we will not be underestimated again. Lisa smiled. The Council will now reconsider its position on humanity's membership status. This is not a request. The Kashari home system surrendered after 3 days. Admiral Ryan Blake did not fire a single shot. His fleet simply arrived, surrounded every Kashari military installation and orbital platform, and waited. The sight of 2,000 human warships was enough. The Kashari government contacted him within hours to discuss terms. The terms were harsh but fair. Complete disarmament of offensive weapons. Kashari territory along human borders would become a neutral zone, monitored by human ships. Reparations would be paid to New Terra's victims, and the Kashari would never again threaten a human world. The Kashari agreed to everything. News spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species received the same message. Humanity was not what they thought. The weak, primitive newcomers were actually the most dangerous military force the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. In the Galactic Council chambers, an emergency summit had been called. Every species sent their highest leaders. The chamber was packed. High Archon Zelthar looked older than he had just 2 weeks before. Ambassador Lisa Bennett entered with a full delegation. Admiral Jake Morrison walked beside her, along with Admiral Ryan Blake, who had come from the fleet. Behind them walked Ambassador Nicole Grant, a stern woman with military bearing who had been introduced as humanity's new representative for military affairs. They walked to the central platform. This time, no one laughed. Zelthar spoke first. Ambassador Bennett, the Council has reviewed the situation. We wish to discuss humanity's status and integration into galactic society. I am sure you do, Lisa said. Her tone was polite but firm. Before we begin, the Council needs to understand some facts about humanity that were not previously disclosed. She activated a holographic display. It showed Earth's history in fast motion, rise and fall of civilizations, wars, technological advancement, space exploration. Every human child learns history. We study past conflicts not to glorify war, but to learn from it. Our myths and legends are teaching tools. They contain lessons from thousands of years of struggle. The display shifted to show the hidden shipyards. 30 years ago, when we first encountered the Council, we made a strategic decision. We chose to appear weak while we observed and learned. We placed reconnaissance teams throughout Council space. We infiltrated your networks. We studied your military tactics and technology. And we built our own fleet in secret. A delegate with tentacles for arms stood. You spied on us? For 30 years? Yes, Ryan said bluntly. We did, because we are not fools. We knew that showing our true capabilities immediately would make us targets. So we waited. We learned. We prepared. Jake pulled up tactical data. We have detailed intelligence on every species in this council. Military strength, economic capacity, political structure, trade routes, everything. We know which species are friendly to humanity and which see us as rivals. We know who voted for our protection status because they genuinely wanted to help, and who voted for it because they wanted us to remain weak. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several delegates shouted accusations. Others demanded investigations. Zelthar raised his clawed hand for silence. This is unacceptable behavior, Ambassador. The Council operates on trust and mutual respect. You have violated that trust. Have we? Lisa asked. The Council denied us full membership for 20 years. You labeled us as children needing protection. You refused to help when we were attacked. Trust and respect work both ways, High Archon. We learned that we could not trust the Council to treat us fairly, so we trusted ourselves instead. Nicole Grant stepped forward. The Council needs to understand what has changed. Humanity is now the dominant military power in this region of space. We have more ships, better technology, and superior tactical training than any 3 Council species combined. This is not a boast. It is a fact. She brought up a star map showing human fleet positions. Green dots marked human ships, and they were everywhere. We have forces positioned throughout Council space, not hiding anymore. We want you to see them. We want you to know that if any species threatens humanity or our interests, we have the capability to respond immediately. This is aggression, the stone-skinned delegate said. You threaten the entire Council. No, Ryan corrected. We inform the Council of reality. There is a difference. We do not want war. We want peace. But peace maintained by strength, not by empty promises and bureaucratic delays. Lisa spoke again. The Council has offered humanity full membership. We decline. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Zelthar looked stunned. You decline? After everything, you refuse membership? We refuse membership under the current structure, Lisa clarified. The Council is outdated. It is slow, inefficient, and biased toward species who have been members for thousands of years. It refused to protect us when we needed help. Why would we want to join that system? Then what do you want? The winged delegate asked. An alliance, Jake said. Not membership. Alliance, where humanity is an equal partner, not a subordinate. We propose a new structure. The Galactic Council continues as it is for internal affairs. But for external threats and military matters, we establish the Allied Defense Coalition. Any species can join. Members contribute ships and resources. Decisions are made by majority vote, with no single species having veto power. Nicole continued. Humanity will lead this coalition initially. We have the largest fleet and the most recent combat experience, but leadership rotates every 10 years. Other species can earn command positions through merit, not politics or seniority. Zelthar looked at the other council members. Quiet conversations happened across the chamber. Finally, he spoke. This would fundamentally change how the galaxy operates. Yes, Lisa agreed. It would. The old system failed. It allowed the Kashari to attack us with no consequences. It let aggressive species expand while peaceful ones suffered. It prioritized tradition over justice. She looked around the chamber. Humanity is offering you a choice. Join us in building something better. Or continue with the old ways and watch as the galaxy leaves you behind. Is that a threat? Zelthar asked. It is an observation. Ryan said. Other species have already contacted us privately. They want to join the coalition. They want the protection of the human fleet. They see the value in what we are offering. With or without the Council's blessing, the Allied Defense Coalition will exist. Days of debate followed. Arguments for and against the proposal. Some species rejected it outright, seeing it as a human power grab. Others embraced it, tired of the Council's slow response to threats. A few species remained neutral, waiting to see which way the political winds blew. In the end, 23 species voted to join the coalition, more than half the Council. Among them were some of the oldest and most respected members. High Archon Zelthar, looking defeated, made the announcement. The Galactic Council recognizes the Allied Defense Coalition as a legitimate organization. We grant humanity full member status in the Council as well, though they have chosen to also maintain their independent coalition. Lisa bowed her head respectfully. Thank you, High Archon. Humanity looks forward to working with the Council as partners and equals. 3 months later, Captain Emma Drake stood on a platform overlooking New Terra's capital city. The damage from the Kashari attack had been repaired. New buildings rose where old ones had fallen. Defense platforms, provided by Earth, orbited overhead. Human warships patrolled the system. Governor Kyle Sanders stood beside her. It is strange, he said. 3 months ago, we were fighting for our lives. Now, we are the most protected colony in human space. We earned it, Emma said. We held when it mattered. We gave Earth the time they needed. In orbit above them, the Valkyrie hung like a steel guardian. Captain Megan Foster had been assigned permanent station at New Terra. Her carrier group would ensure nothing threatened the colony again. On Earth, Admiral Ryan Blake walked through the Colorado Command Center. Displays showed the entire human fleet and the new coalition forces joining them. The hidden base was not so hidden anymore. Earth no longer needed to hide its strength. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez walked beside him. Admiral, final reports from the Intelligence Division. We have confirmed that the Kashari invasion was going to happen anyway. Our protected status just gave them an excuse. Good, Ryan said. Then we were right to let them attack. We needed the moral high ground. Now we have it, and the galaxy knows what happens to species that threaten humanity. In the council chambers, Ambassador Lisa Bennett met with delegates from friendly species. They discussed trade agreements, technology sharing, and mutual defense pacts. The relationships humanity built now would shape the galaxy for generations. Admiral Jake Morrison traveled between human colonies, coordinating the integration of coalition forces with human fleets. He trained officers from other species in human tactics. Some learned quickly. Others struggled with humanity's aggressive style of warfare. But all of them gained respect for human methods. A year after the Battle of New Terra, the galaxy had settled into a new normal. The Council still existed, but its power was diminished. The Allied Defense Coalition handled most military matters. Human ships patrolled vast sections of space. Piracy dropped by 70%. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans. And everywhere, species that had once laughed at human myths now studied them carefully. They read about Spartans and Vikings. They learned about military strategists like Sun Tzu and Napoleon. They watched recordings of human battles throughout history. They finally understood. Human myths were not fantasies. They were lessons, warnings, examples of what humanity was capable of when pushed. Ambassador Nicole Grant gave a speech to the Coalition Assembly. Her words were broadcast across the galaxy. When humanity first came to the stars, we were naive. We thought the galaxy would welcome us with open arms. We thought peace was the default state of the universe. We were wrong, but we learned, we adapted, and we became what we needed to be. She paused, looking at the assembled delegates from 40 species. You laughed at our myths. You mocked our legends. You thought our stories about warriors and weapons and victories were childish fantasies. But every myth has a foundation in truth. Every legend started as history. We told you who we were. We showed you our nature through our stories. You just were not listening. Now you are listening. Now you understand. Humanity is not the strongest species because we have the biggest ships or the most advanced weapons. We are strongest because we remember. We learn from our past. We honor our warriors and our defeats equally. We never forget where we came from or what we are capable of becoming. She smiled. The galaxy is changing. Together as allies, we will face whatever comes. And when future threats arise, when new challenges appear, the galaxy will not stand divided. It will stand together, protected not by bureaucracy and tradition, but by strength and unity. High Archon Zelthar watched the speech from his chambers. He had resigned from the council leadership, taking responsibility for the failures that led to the human revelation. In his quiet moments, he reflected on his mistakes. Humanity had told them exactly who they were, through their myths, their legends, their stories. They had said, "We are warriors, we are survivors, we are dangerous when threatened." And the council had laughed. The laughter had stopped. Admiral Ryan Blake stood in the observation deck looking out at Earth, his planet, his home, the world that had produced countless warriors, scientists, artists, and dreamers throughout history. "Was it worth it?" a voice asked. Captain Ben Harper, back from his reconnaissance missions, joined him. 30 years of hiding, playing weak, letting them mock us. Ryan smiled. "We told them the truth from the start, Ben. We showed them our myths, our history, our nature. They chose not to believe. That is not our fault. And now they know. Now when humanity tells a story, the galaxy listens. They laugh at our myths? Never again, because they witnessed what happens when humanity stops pretending." Ryan turned from the window. "We built an armada in secret. We changed the galaxy's power structure in months. We took every lesson from every war in human history, and we applied them perfectly. The old Ryan Blake would say this was just good strategy." "It was good strategy," Ryan agreed. "But it was more than that. It was a reminder, a demonstration. Humans survive because we adapt, we learn, and we never, ever underestimate our enemies." He looked back at Earth, at the planet that had produced all of this. The galaxy laughed at human myths, and then they witnessed the Armada's entrance. They will never make that mistake again. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, the story spread. It became a myth of its own, the tale of how humanity revealed its true power, how they turned mockery into respect, how they became legends. And on Earth, children learned about the Battle of New Terra. They heard about Governor Sanders and Captain Drake. They studied Admiral Blake's tactics. They read the speeches Ambassador Bennett delivered. They learned their history. They understood their myths. And they knew deep in their hearts that humanity would always endure. Because that is what humanity does. That is who humanity is. And the galaxy would never forget it.